All right, we'll come to order for the work session for February 10th for the Site Plan Review Technical Advisory Committee. Eric Evie is attending remotely, and we have a quorum otherwise present. First item is 280 Marcy Street.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us here today.
Your name.
Yeah, that's where I start with. My name's Russ Grazier. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Portsmouth Music and Arts Center. Here today with Eric Weinreb from Altus Engineering and Tracy Kozak from Arcove Architects. And we are representing the project at 280 Marcy Street for the Schleier Foundation and Portsmouth Music and Arts Center. The project is to take the existing South Meeting House and historically restore it and redesign the interior of the building as a visual arts center for community use. The project is an effort to transform Portsmouth Music and Arts Center into a two-campus model. PMAC's music programs will remain at 973 Islington Street, while our visual arts programs will have a new home at the revitalized South Meeting House. In partnership with the Schleier Foundation, Chimber Properties, and Arcove Architects, our goal is to preserve a cherished landmark and create inspiring spaces where the arts can thrive for all community members. More space means more possibility. PMAC can grow access for local students of all ages, introducing new programs and creating greater interdisciplinary connections between sound, image, and story. The opportunity will open the doors to new partnerships with organizations based in the South End, such as Strawberry Bank Museum and Prescott Park Arts Festival, infusing more creative energy into the Seacoast. This project will serve to open the doors of the South Meeting House to all community members, including families, recalling the days of the Children's Museum by transforming the South Meeting House into a vibrant visual arts center. As a redesigned visual arts center, the South Meeting House will welcome people of all ages to learn, create, and connect. Purpose-built classrooms will support hands-on learning and 21st century arts education for all levels. A rotating gallery open to the public will showcase both student and professional artwork, and the flexible space can also host interdisciplinary programs, multimedia events, small performances, and artist talks that invite the community into the creative process. We believe the project is right-sized for the organization at this particular site. We'll only have 3 classrooms in it and 2 private lesson studios in the space, as well as an office, and that it meets the needs for the size of the organization and the size of the programming that's going to go into the space and for the community. So that's what we're looking at in the space. I'll hand it over to Eric. To Dave.
Dave.
Hey,
slipped in on
Excuse me for being late.
David Schleier, Schleier Foundation.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Russ. That was a great summary. Again, this proposal is just to restore the South Meeting House through a privately funded nonprofit, the Schleier Foundation. We're committing to doing a full base building renovation. Chimberg's early planning assumption was 300 to 400 per square foot, and to support a long-term maintenance of the property. PMAC intends to fund the interior space fit-up required for its visual arts program, separate from the Schleier Foundation's funding of the base building renovations and long-term maintenance. I was going to go into kind of summarize what PMAC's intended uses, but Russ has done so very well. Thank you.
You want to just go into the RFP process and how we got to this point or not?
Yeah, sure. So this project originated through an RFP from the city, and I think there was one other submittal to ours, and we were grateful that the city chose to move forward with ours. And since then, we have met a few times with the city to review a lease agreement for the long-term lease of the property for nonprofit use. We're now in a position after the last city council meeting to progress forward with planning and finalizing the lease agreement with the city manager.
Now it's my turn.
Thanks, Eric.
Welcome. Eric Weinreb with Altus Engineering. And so the first thing that we had done was had James Barron Associates complete a detailed existing condition plan with boundary. And it's an interesting parcel they suffered through, I don't know if you want to go back to the existing conditions plan, through the boundary information on it because there's been no modern survey on the property, and so records seem to conflict between deeds and other information. So there's two, per se, lot lines shown going around on the, and so not even sure if it really is pertinent because it's city property, it's right away. Whether it's one boundary or the other, the building appears to be fully inside the parcel, which is city property, and the parking is straddled between the right-of-way and the site. And so it is city-owned, it's municipal zone, thus it's exempt from all zoning requirements. And so you can go to the site plan now. We are proposing really very little site modifications to it. The front part of the parcel is gonna stay essentially the same. There's some settling that's gone on in that spiral area and the handrail and so forth that we're gonna need to do some repairs in those areas, but it's gonna essentially look the same as it is. On the back side, there's an existing large concrete ramp and the handicap parking is on, I'll call it the north side of the site. What we're proposing to do is swap that to the south side and create a new ramp walkway along the south side of the building so that you could enter in the front as an accessible route. On the plan that I have there, I have it going up to a midpoint where there's an existing door and then going back down and then up to the front entrance. And that was our initial thought. Tracy, who will speak later, has decided to eliminate that southerly door, that southerly entrance. So it's just gonna be a ramp all the way along the south side and then up into the front of the building, so they'll be accessible to the main entrance going into the site. On south of that, there's gonna be a couple rebuilding the steps and access down to Meeting House Road. North side, there's a little piece of walkway that we want to replace that just deteriorated. Along the head-end parking stalls it's asphalt curbing, and what we'd like to do is utilize city stockpiled older curbing to reuse on the site so that we can create more of that authentic look of old curbing in that area. And one of the things I'm looking for guidance from the city is parking stall sizes, angles, length. On the north side, I re-striped it, making it a 60-degree space and regulation length, and that changes the striping slightly. As you can see, the existing to the proposed, and we've captured a little piece of green space to add to the site green space on that side. On the south side, I didn't extend the spaces very much because would be into the street, but we've restriped those to be the correct width, and then I'm adding one additional space on the south side. And we're also adding some bike racks adjacent to the handicap parking stall so that we have a place for patrons that may want to bike to the facility. There's going to be a new retaining wall along that walkway adjacent to the building on the south side. From a landscape standpoint, there's my grading plan that just shows spot grades on how we have to grade that ramp area. Primarily, that's the only changes to the grading and the expansion of the parking. And go to the last, is Terrence's landscape plan. So he has shown the bike racks, some supplemental parking, landscaping adjacent to the bike racks because on the south of the bike racks is a retaining wall, and so we want to create a landscape buffer to, as fall protection adjacent to the bike rack. In front, he's gonna do some parking enhancement, and I am stuck on parking. Landscape enhancements, and then in the front, on the southeast corner, it's a fairly steep area, and what the goal is to eliminate some of the lawn in that area and create it more of a natural vegetated area. And I think that's about it. We're looking for your guidance, input, and assistance on what our next steps will be. Oh, and Tracy, sorry.
Sure. Yeah, we are looking at the front entrance. There's a wooden deck that connects the spiral to the front door. Part of it has a little bit of a ramp. We'd like to level that out to make it handicapped accessible. Replace the front railings, as Eric mentioned.
Where is that, Tracy?
It is, so the amphitheater in the front, and then there's the front door, existing front door
Yeah.
to the left. That area in between, that junction, it's actually wood decking.
When you come right out the front door.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the existing grade below it, there must have been granite steps when it was originally built, coming right down the front. They built a deck over it that's about 2 feet high. You can see the ionic columns that go right down through the deck, 2 feet down, their base is below. We wanna level that out just to get rid of the tripping hazard that exists at the beginning of that curved amphitheater. It's just like a 1.5 inch, 2 inch trip hazard. We will need to go to HTC for the minor revisions to the railings and the handicap ramp along the south.
You ever go to HTC if it's city-owned?
We typically do,
Yeah, I think so.
for at least advisory, but
I believe Tracy's elevations are in the set there.
It's really important to get the handicapped entrance to the same place as the main entrance for everyone, not just so that everyone feels like they're a valuable person visiting this, but because of security. There are kids here, and security, having the staff able to see the door is paramount. So by eliminating public access to that side door, which is around the corner and not in view of administrative staff, we can solve that problem.
elevation. There we go.
Other than that, there are no changes to the exterior, other than a lot of extensive maintenance, repairing all the rotted wood and trim, repainting. The envelope, building envelope will be weather sealed. We will repair, reglaze windows as needed. Add more insulation in the attic where it's missing. We're looking to put utility rooms in the basement, and there may be a little bit of limited excavation required. Adding an elevator to make it handicapped accessible. Fire protection is already there, but that would be updated for the new layout.
What takes
Updated
place on the second floor?
2 classrooms and a small gallery.
You don't show that on here though, right?
There's no second floor.
What's that?
I didn't give the second floor
Oh,
for
okay.
CAC work
Yeah.
session.
You said it is sprinklered, the whole building?
Yes,
So, hold it, you just mentioned an elevator. How are you gonna power that?
So that would, there's overhead power coming to the site.
There are secondaries up there, there's no big three-phase primary or anything that
Yeah.
you would need for an
So
elevator.
Peterson is getting on board to be working on this.
it is a Lula lift, not a full elevator, so that will help a little bit.
And so
'Cause I don't
we
think
don't
we wanna
know
bring
what,
three-phase
we don't know
power
what
through
their,
the south end, that would be not good.
No, it's Lula, it'll be a 240, yeah, 30, 240.
Okay.
We're presuming that the pads will need to be replaced and condenser and so forth as well.
Yeah, it's just limited power up there.
Okay.
The door is just being removed and the windows basically matching the windows that are there, is that,
That's our hope. Yeah.
if you can find them?
There's limited space for putting snow around that building. So you just wanna keep that in mind when you're developing your landscape, so that your landscape doesn't get destroyed.
Crushable, yeah.
I'm not sure I totally agree with creating that green space on the plan north there. Seems like a lot, especially considering how tiny those parking spaces are. They're gonna be very hard to get into, but compact car parking.
Where I did this, I'm fine if we just restripe it. That's why I'm here looking for your input on that.
You think it needs to be restriped, why?
I just aligned them at 60-degree spaces.
Yeah.
And
Why?
why?
Yes. Do they not work? I'm just assuming that they work now. The slightest tweak could cause them not to work. So they're very, very tiny spaces.
They're
It'd be hard to pull into.
they are the minimum width.
Yeah,
no argument.
dead minimum.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just couldn't help myself as an engineer to try to make it better. And so, so I have no issue, and that's why we're here, to leave those spaces in the same length, same configuration, restripe it. I would, still want to add the space on the south side. It makes my life easier to take proposed parking off and just show existing restripe as shown.
That site is very, very, very tiny. There's no room for anything.
Eric, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I was wondering if you can show the width of the street behind the parking spaces. That would be helpful to know, because that is a two-way street there, but what is that width between the end of the parking space and the other side? Likewise on the north side as well. We have had issues with parking out there where they're backing out of those last spots onto Marcy Street. And it's really a blind corner, so that they can't see what's coming behind the building behind them. Yeah, up there. Is any thought given to, angling the other way or make it 90 degrees? But I don't know what you have for overall width out there and what's possible.
Hadn't considered changing the direction. I'd be hesitant to change the direction because certainly on the south side, that's the way the pavement is configured. On the north side, I don't know. I just feel like we're approaching from Marcy, and so I think it's an easier maneuver to get into the site.
Yeah. Yeah, I know most traffic's coming in off of Marcy Street, so it makes sense to be angled that way. It'd be nice to be able to do something about those last spaces at the end where they're backing out into Marcy Street. Rather have them back into the side street rather than backing out into Marcy Street.
And the way you change the angle, it makes it even worse for that.
I'm taking that off the table.
And is the parking considered on site or is it considered on street? Because it's sort of half and half.
Municipal.
It's all city.
The answer is yes.
Obviously.
It's all city property.
Okay.
I would hate to lose the space there. I understand the safety concern. I don't know if there's been any accidents that you know of.
Off the top of my head, they're very low to none likely.
I recognize the safety concern, but I'd prefer to keep the space.
street signage, help that entering, exit vehicles. We add additional street signage to make drivers aware.
I would prefer not to add signs. I think that we got a beautiful site and I don't want signs pushed in.
Yeah, and I think people don't pay attention to signs anyways, they won't do much good.
It's true.
Could you convert that last parking spot to bicycle parking only? Do a couple more racks?
I don't want to lose the space. I mean,
You
we,
make the whole thing one way, so the southern street is one way. If you did the northern street one way, the other way, you'd have a clockwise circulation to traffic, and then you would just flip spots the other way.
Yeah, I think they're both two-way streets today.
I think they are.
Do they need to be?
I think they need to be.
And yeah, it's a tight area, it's easier to get around there if you keep them both two-way, because there is very low volume, so it's usually not an issue. It's just better for access to keep them two-way. So you're meeting the required parking, but you don't know how much parking you'll actually need, right?
That's correct. We haven't completed the parking demand analysis. Will it be required? I mean, it was the Children's Museum.
Where will people be dropped off if they're not parking?
Typically, when people drop off at our institution, people park their car, walk their student into the building, and then go out and retrieve their car. We don't usually have a system for in cars and anything like that. Yeah, drop off or something like that. So we're not anticipating something like that. Yeah, we're not planning for that.
I do want to comment on drainage. So there's no closed drainage in the area. The
Correct.
building's guttered. And there's existing PVC that discharges in between the curb onto the pavement. What we're proposing to do when we replace the curb is to rebuild that in the same manner. Just no opportunities to do closed drainage connecting to God knows where on Marcy Street.
And that landscaped area can't be used for a little bit of infiltration?
Which, the one up on top
I was thinking in front.
in front? I think it'd be difficult to get the water there, and I think that I would be concerned with it breaking out and flooding over. I haven't seen any significant issues, and it's been like that for decades.
It's not broke.
Not very broken. So we're looking for your feedback. Next steps.
Yeah, it's a nice historic site. I appreciate you keeping it intact.
We're excited about it.
Anything else? No.
So what,
Do you know?
yeah, what do we do now? I'm begging.
So you're gonna go to the HCC for the,
Yes,
Yeah, you see it next, I think.
but what other permitting through, do we go back for TAC formal and planning board? Do we,
you don't have to go to planning board.
I think unless something changes at the HDC, I don't know that you need to come back.
so we're
unless anybody wants to see, I mean, you're gonna keep the parking as is, right?
Yeah.
I think that's,
More or less the same, just an upgrade of the site that's there.
Yeah.
Or facelift.
And the curbing process, I did have a conversation a while ago with Dave, and so that's an appeal to the council to use that curb, Dave?
Yeah, request for city property, yeah.
Even though it's city property, using city property?
Yep.
Okay.
I think so, well, we can double check, but put a request in and we'll process it accordingly.
And that goes to the council or to you?
You can send it to me or the city manager.
Okay.
If you're not gonna come back here, Tracy, just as an FYI, just obviously, the second floor will probably be an assembly use. And I see you're gonna, might be adding glass to the stairwells, just make sure you're using closed face sprinklers or the correct rating. I digress.
Yeah, there are some nuances with the way that double front stair works, and we're creating kind of a
Oh, I like it, yeah.
tunnel through it. It'll be use group E because there'll be some kids here.
Oh, okay.
You still might have an assembly space.
Yeah, I think the second
Yeah,
floor might be,
galleries.
yeah.
Okay, just a reminder, we're gonna have significant issues if you try to upsize the electrical service. Significant. Okay.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
Next up, we have 181 Hill Street for site plan.
Ben Williams calling? Yeah.
You're welcome.
Hey.
Okay, thanks, Eric.
Hey, Peter.
I can sit. Doesn't matter. Marcy's up here if you wanna come up. I'll have a seat warm for you if you wanna. Come up. Slice.
Whenever you're ready.
All set?
Yeah.
All right. My name's Corey Belden. I'm with Altus Engineering, and I'm here with Mark Gianni from Portsmouth Architects, Richard Desjardins from Portsmouth Architects, Derek Durbin from Durbin Law, and Bruce Sommer, the owner of the property. So we're here for 181 Hill Street, tax map 125 lot 14. This is a 0.37 acre lot, over 16,000 square feet in the character district, CD4 L1. As you can see on the existing site plan, again, well, one thing is this existing conditions plan was prepared back in 2021 or 2021. It's old, it's being updated. We've obtained the as-built plans for the Foundry Place residents across Hill Street and the city's utility project that was done, I think, 2019-20, that included a lot of utility work along Hanover, Autumn, and Hill Street. So that will be updated as we proceed with the project. The existing site has 3 4-unit buildings, 12 total units on site. The proposed plan is to raise those buildings and construct a single 18-unit multifamily building with basement garage level, which will provide 17 basement parking spaces, 20 with 6 outside, that 23 total parking spaces, based on the requirement of 1.0 stalls per unit, which is the new requirement. We are meeting all existing or all parking requirements on site. Just to note, the owner also has 14 deeded parking spaces over at the Foundry Foundry Residence parking garage as well. So this site, there's been some discussion. It's what we consider a corner lot with Hanover and Autumn. Hanover being our primary frontage and Autumn as the secondary. The west side of the building as a side yard. And then the Hill Street side, the public right of way does not extend beyond this. There's an easement behind the property that's not public, and so that is what we're considering the rear yard. We've laid out all of the setbacks based on that. Certainly this project, there's going to be a number of variances that will be required for the site based on the building size, density that's being proposed for the site. But that's what we're looking for from this board is hopefully to get some comments and, as we move forward and go with our zoning applications, just making sure that we're addressing all of those concerns, and if we have to make some changes to the plans, we address them now prior to proceeding with the zoning applications. So, as was shown on the previous plan, the site's almost all impervious. I think the impervious cover on the existing lot is 95.5%. There's about 4.5% open space. So we would be looking to increase that. We're right around 12% now, but that would still require zoning relief because we're not reaching the 25%. In the letter that we submitted, we did have a couple items that we also want to potentially discuss here today. What the city, so one of them is the existing sidewalk on Hanover Street. I know the city's current standard is 6 foot wide sidewalks, concrete sidewalks. That sidewalk is about 4.5 feet wide, and it already extends onto, across the property line in some areas. So the question would be, what would the city be looking for as far as sidewalk? Would it be
5.5 with an easement.
providing an easement to the city to build sidewalk on,
To build a wider sidewalk than what's there.
to build a wider sidewalk than what's existing? There's also a requirement for building floor height compared to what the sidewalk elevation is, 36 inches. So what we have is being a long property, there's almost 4 feet of drop between one side to the other side of the property. So, we're maintaining that at the high side of the property. As the property extends to the east, that would be exceeded, but we're moving, there's really not a definition in the regs about what that measurement is, so we are looking for confirmation that we're compliant. We feel that based on the regs that we would be. The entrance, the primary entrance to the building is that most easterly entrance towards Autumn Street. And that is actually going to be a mid-block entrance, so you'll come in mid-level between the garage and the basement. So it's really an at-grade entrance. It's not, 6 feet or 8 feet up in the air, which I think is partially the intent of the regulation, so.
So if you're looking at the garage entrances to the left,
Garage entrance is on the right. The actual garage entrance for vehicles is on Autumn Street, right where the
Right.
cursor
This
is.
is the main entrance, right?
Main entrance
That
to
would
the
be the
building.
main entrance.
you said it was, so the garage entrance is Autumn, but the main entrance is on Hanover.
Main pedestrian.
Pedestrian entrance.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, sorry.
thank you.
We have an external ADA parking stall located, in the back, hillsides part of the property, which would provide access around the property to that main entrance as well, and also another ADA stall in the basement. Mark, do you wanna talk?
Yeah,
Discuss if you wanna go to the architecturals, I think. I put away at the end, sorry.
That's all right. That's good.
So you change your name?
So just real quickly, we can go through the design and the massing of the building. So as Corey mentioned, it is 3 stories. We're trying to keep it more residential scale so it fits in the context of the neighborhood. We're also giving it, a different facade, 3 different facades to try to make it, and stepping them as well. In the roof height, we're all stepping it back and forth as far as the footprint and the face of the facades. So again, that it has the context of a smaller neighborhood and smaller residential design. The basement layout has the 17 parking spots for vehicles, 1 handicap. There are 2 stair towers. The one, as Corey was mentioning, along Hanover Street will be the main pedestrian entrance. You enter it at a landing, mid-level height. So that will give you elevator access and stairs. Obviously, within the parking garage, you have 2 access points, either the stair tower, 2 stair towers and the elevator. We're also providing a fair amount of space for utilities in there. Utilities, trash. So we can bring our entrances in for gas, electric. We haven't figured out exactly what trash remediation would be, but assuming for this size building, it would be private pickup, if it's totes or wheeled trash barrels, whatever. But we have it just inside the parking garage ramp, so it can be brought out to a truck or vehicle on trash day. Moving to the next 3 floors are all obviously the residential living spaces. Right now, we're basically the layout of the units are all very similar. They range from about 990 square feet to 1,500 square foot units. So they'll obviously be a combination of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units once we get further along in the design there. That's not our project. I don't know, did you get that extra? Okay, thank you. So we had the conceptual rendering, which just showed the elevations from from Hanover Street. Since we've submitted this packet, we've developed the building further so that you could see all sides. Up on the upper left hand there, you'll see that's the Autumn Street elevation. So at the ground level there, we've worked out the grades so that we can have the entry to the parking garage. There are balconettes on basically all sides of the building. On Hanover Street itself, again, as we talked about when we were looking at the floor plan, the pedestrian entrance is on the bottom right of the building there. There are 2 porches. Those are really only providing access to 2 single units, so those units would have direct access from the street. Building types at this point, we're looking at a podium type construction, type 2B for the parking garage, and then probably type 5 construction above. Obviously, it would be fully sprinklered and fire alarm, all that fun stuff. What other items do we want to hit on?
Yeah, I think the primary other items are utility relocations. You know, there's a new 8-inch main that's going down Autumn. I think the intent would be to connect to that. The buildings would be we'd have fire suppression, so running, you know, those separate connections from there, typical with what we've done in the city on other projects. Sewer line is along Hill Street. There's a manhole close to the intersection of Hill and Autumn that I guess, you know, some of these items we can talk through a bit more after the, you know, with potential site plan review application. I understand that, you know, based on we just got the as-built plans, there's the line that's coming from, that runs right behind the project, kind of bypasses the existing manhole and ties in after it, so, where exactly we connect, we could discuss that with the city for our sewer
Public
connection.
sewer stops at the manhole.
What's that?
The public sewer stops at the manhole
Correct.
near Autumn Street. So that's private sewer above that, so you wouldn't want to tie into private line.
No, what I was saying, the private line goes past it. From my understanding is probably we would go past that connection and tie into the public sewer after the connection that bypasses that manhole from the other line that's running behind the property. I'm guessing.
Obviously, the Hill Street label that's on the plan is wrong, right? Because that's not Hill Street up there.
Correct. That should be modified. Hill Street ends at Autumn Street, so Hill Street is, right.
Let me just, as you move through the as-bills and the utility design, let me give you a couple of hints, okay? There's electric primary underneath that concrete sidewalk in front of the building that Eversource put in. That is gonna
On
be,
Hanover Street?
that is gonna be your power supply. You're gonna need to put an electrical vault in underneath that sidewalk so that you can access the primary. And you're gonna need a pad mount transformer somewhere on that site. It's big enough to feed that building. I just had a meeting with Eversource 3 weeks ago about another site that's nearby, and there's no other way to get power to anything up there. They're at their limitation because of the number of poles and the number of services. So you're gonna need to drop a vault on that primary electric line and then put a transformer somewhere that makes sense off of that vault. Also in Hanover Street, brand new sewer and water services were provided for all those buildings. So you're gonna need to terminate all those brand new connections at the main. It's gonna require digging up Hanover Street quite a bit. So we're gonna make you mill and pave Hanover Street after you're done. Drainage connection is on Hanover Street now in front of the building. That one that was in the back was connected to the sewer, it's gone. So that'll be your connection for the roof drain.
Wait, sorry, say that again.
There's a catch basin near the corner of Hanover and Autumn Street.
Yeah.
That is the only spot that there is stormwater available up there.
Yeah.
So that catch basin that was out back was tied into the sewer, it's been removed.
Yeah.
The 3 buildings that were up there all had new electrical services installed. They come across from the poles across the street, those are all gonna have to be removed. I don't think the gas is gonna be a problem. That's probably the easiest thing.
We also have a fire hydrant on Hanover Street, you're showing parking in front of it.
We can just stripe that out. Yep.
your open space calculation just on the site plan, it shows green areas? Is it all the green areas or just the 5-foot wide green areas?
I think it's all the green areas, but I think all of the existing was done the same way, so there might be 0 on existing if it's only 5
So
foot
you
wide.
might wanna recalculate that just to include areas that are
Yeah,
5
just
feet
look
wide.
at our definition of open space, how it's
Yeah.
calculated. And then you should, probably contact Jamie McCarty about if you want Hanover Street to be the address, to make sure that that's doable.
Oh, okay.
So that would be
Yeah,
a
we reached
principal.
out, I reached out to him just to try to get as-built data and utility information, but I'll reach out to him on it.
Regarding addressing, it will be a Hanover
Okay.
address.
It will be.
If you build it like this with that main entrance, it will be a Hanover Street address to meet 911 guidelines, so.
That's what we were anticipating, so, okay.
Yeah, all the existing units are addressed, have Hanover Street addresses. That might not be, at least for mail and stuff. I don't know, not for 911 or.
Right, so the numeric will be determined by Jamie, but if it's built like this, that's a Hanover Street building. And that's to meet New Hampshire E911 guidelines, and that's where the fire department's enforcing, so.
You guys have a right of way to continue on up the private part of Hill Street, or, because those spaces have no place to turn around that's on your property to exit out to a city street,
So we have,
the way they're drawn.
we own half of Hill Street. We have an easement to cross the other half, and we also have an easement to cross the 2 abutting properties to the left, to the west.
Okay.
That handicap or the van parking stall or the exit or the door going into the lobby is adjacent to it. Does that extra space, that 5-foot wide section need to be clear all the way to the end? In other
You
words.
mean the extra couple of feet there? All right.
Well, no, where there's a door, I mean, obviously you come out of everyone's gonna be using the door to go into the lobby.
Yeah.
And if you've got a van parked there and they slide it open and then they have a, wheelchair and it comes down, is that entire box supposed to be clear? And then, have a space for the entry door?
the entry door.
Question I don't know the answer to right now. I believe you need 5 foot for the van space, and it may need to encompass the entire 8-foot length.
Yeah.
Clear, perhaps, something to look into.
Yeah, we can look into that.
And then just out of curiosity, so you've got 18 units, and then how do you determine if that trash recycling area is big enough? Like you get with 36 bins, one for recycling, one for trash, or is it, it seems like something could be a problem if it's not really.
Right, I mean, the other option would be like the 2 or 3 yard dumpsters that are in casters. But,
And those will go into that area.
yeah. And that would be allowed.
Must be an equation to figure that out, right? There's a certain.
I'm not sure about the equation, but I'm sure there's some historical data.
The trash. You'd think,
I mean, it's about 20, almost 30 feet long.
That's almost 30 feet long, yeah. 36, so one gets 2 feet, just under 2 feet.
Can also adjust frequency of pickups, especially being private.
Yeah, if you have multiple pickups, I suppose, that works, yeah.
And I don't see any drainage in the garage. You probably need a evaporator.
We would do an evaporation drain in the garage, yeah.
All set? Anything else? No? Eric, do you have anything?
Just a question, over on the left side of the plan, it says parking easement, is that for the abutter to park on this property?
Yes,
Okay, and that remains,
That does remain.
that remains correct.
okay. Yep. And then along Hanover Street, it looks like you're able to fill in the existing driveways to get 3 new parking spaces?
Probably 2 because of the hydrant, we're gonna have to provide access. But
Yeah.
2 additional parking spaces on Hanover Street as well, correct?
Are you extending the sidewalk there at the corner of Autumn Street? Is that how you're able to move that angled line further towards Autumn Street? That one right there?
The crosswalk.
It was going a little bit closer towards Autumn Street, correct? We were trying to get a 3rd parking stall in there, but now, do you know what the width, like where the hydrant is, what the total width of walkout we would need?
Whatever Eric allows, or there is a state law, but there's also parking rules, so whatever they want is acceptable for that.
Yeah.
The hydrant needs to be,
Yeah,
to center it, that would,
It's a brand new hydrant on a brand new main.
I'm staying out of it. It's gotta stay there and accessible, that's all.
Right, just in
But how
front of
much
it,
space
is
do you want?
it,
Yeah.
is it 12 feet, is it 15, like,
I believe chapter 7, our ordinance requires 15 feet on either side, but double check that in chapter 7, that's where it would tell you.
30 feet clear.
well, 1 parking space being added on Hanover Street.
It looks like you're also losing 3 spaces on Autumn Street, 3 parallel spaces that are there today.
Since we're shoveling it out.
Yeah,
I believe those spaces are currently,
I understand.
I'm okay if you provide it.
the private spaces. There's a sign on the side that says private.
Yeah, but I don't know if that sign is a legal sign. It appears that they're parking in the right of way. Those spaces are in the right of way, not on the site.
Quite
Yeah, so
possibly.
here they're off the lot line. They're-
Not sure why the sign's on the building saying permit parking only. If you can show that you have rights to those, then that'd be an issue. Otherwise, that's a removal of on-street spaces that would have to be approved.
PTS and city council?
Yeah, yep.
Here. Here, it's private spaces, they've been marked private for 40 years.
Yeah, we can discuss.
Yeah, I know the sign. Yeah, you need to have something showing that those are
I don't know if they've ever been
those.
public spaces, but we could talk and figure that out if that is in the equation.
Any other comments or questions? Are you all set, Corey?
Almost it.
I'm all set right now, yep.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item is 361 Miller Avenue.
Thank you, everyone. So this is 361 Miller. I'm here with the owner, Elizabeth. And this is a really simple one, existing fully developed site, multi-unit that has a garage out back that is just falling apart. So the plan is to rip that down, build a brand new safe structure in the back left corner that will actually have parking spaces, usable parking spaces. So, the intent here is to provide good parking where right now it's kind of haphazard, get rid of that old garage, build a nice new safe structure. In that garage on the second floor will be a very small office. And one of the things in this site plan that was really important to everyone is, as you're standing on Miller, the back right has a huge, enormous silver maple that one of the tree experts looked at, and he thought it could be the largest tree in the whole county. So right now, that existing garage is not helping that tree. So we want to get rid of that garage. So if, I guess also to add, we did go over with Eric, because in the summer, they went through the ZBA process and got the necessary approvals and didn't really concentrate on the parking layout. So we did alter the parking just a little bit, and went over that with Eric to try to come up with the best layout that would work and provide enough spaces. So we'd be happy to go over any comments or concerns you might have.
So above the garage, you're stating it's office space. It's looking a lot like an apartment. A kitchen and a full bathroom with shower.
Yeah, we had the same,
Yeah, we had the same comment.
because what was presented to the zoning board was it was just gonna be storage.
No, we had always talked to the zoning board about it being office space. And I did talk to all of the neighbors that it was to be office space. So there is a sink, there's like a couple of cabinets, but it's not a kitchen per se. It is,
So what
it's a
what kind of
kitchenette.
office? Because
It's for my husband and myself because we own other rental properties. And right now I have everything kind of haphazard in my basement. And it's not working
you all
for
don't,
us.
you don't live here, right?
We live close by, but we don't live
Because
in
the
that
office
building.
use in a residential zone is not permitted.
We had talked to other people and said that it could be. I mean,
We can, yeah, so in our ordinance, you can have a home occupation if you live in, at your house, but an office in a, general residence is not permitted.
So if it's the primary residence, you could have a home office, is that what you're saying?
Right, but
In an
there's
existing building.
up to 300 square feet, but
because we had talked to everybody before we even started this project. The whole reason for the impetus for this project was actually the historic tree. So the tree is, about 225 years old. We were planning on rebuilding the garage. I need storage for all of my files and stuff like that. And my husband and I are continuing to buy properties and fix them up in Portsmouth. All of our projects have been very well received. I know Shanti's very familiar with
The
the type
property?
of work.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't aware of. I would have, right off the bat, when I look at this, what I would say, has all the makings of an ADU, independent living facilities by definition, other than you get a shower, you get a bathroom, you got a refrigerator, it looks like, you got a sink. It looks like maybe the only thing lacking here is a stove, but it's fine, if you're saying.
Yeah, no, it is not intended, and
Sure,
at all.
understood.
And we are fully, fine with making that like a permanent thing, like part of the permit and everything.
And so then if it's an office, then like I say,
Yes.
I wasn't, number checked with me, I'm not sure if you spoke to everyone, I'm not sure if you spoke to planning with regards
Yeah,
to zoning.
we actually had spoken to, I think Stephanie, and had talked to people in planning.
Right. But, yeah, so I don't know, it's a zoning
We
thing.
looked at your Board of Adjustment application and it just doesn't look like this, it just shows storage. So that wasn't what was presented to them for the variance.
If you talk to, if you look at the hearing itself, you will see that we absolutely talked specifically about having an office up there. And letters that, we had written, or communications we had with the abutters and everything, we all talked about having an office up there,
Stephanie's not around, but we'll follow up with Stephanie.
certainly.
And then the other piece on the Board of Adjustment is the garage had a traditional dormer, I believe, with the Board of Adjustment. Did you present both dormers to them? And what one are you proposing? Because it shows both here. But if it was the bigger size,
Oh, okay.
if it was the bigger size dormer, that would need to go back, I think, because that's more
No,
the smaller one.
The smaller one, yeah,
Chanel Falls.
yeah. Yeah, so we wanted just to tuck in, and actually, the neighbors are like all in favor of moving the garage and having it located where it was, because it's gonna make for better like sight for all the neighbors, like the Epsteins who are behind us. Now they're looking at that dilapidated garage. For the Steinbergs on the other side, they were the ones who were like, oh, you should put your garage next to our garage, because then they're not gonna see it and everybody can see the tree. So that's, where we started, but it's also my husband and I needing to have office space. I was renting office space, and unfortunately my office got sold. So everything is right now in my house, and it's really a challenge.
And then it looks like your open space, was that something you went to the BOA for? Takes a little bit over.
We did go to the ZBA for building coverage.
Mhm.
Open space per conforming.
Oh, you're conforming, oh, sorry, yep, 30.7, just.
So I guess, by the regulations, if it is an office, we'd have to go back to ZBA to request a variance, or what?
That's what our regulations say, yep.
But it was in the original application.
Can you pull up the ZBA application just to see if it's, was it, you already
Look
did.
at what
you
was
already
asked
did.
for, it wasn't a request to the ZBA.
There were no plans submitted showing this in the original.
It wasn't just the plan, it was
We definitely
the.
talked about it with the ZBA.
Were there any in other words, was there anything?
They're
documented?
This
really,
just
I think
shows
they're really
storage.
preliminary plans.
Oh,
There
yeah,
were,
yeah.
No, this has never been like something that we added last minute.
But it would have had to been a variance that they would have granted.
Requested.
Well, what's the variance say that they gave us?
The building coverage and then setbacks for the structure, side and rear.
And I guess in the regulations, is there any cutoff, like if it's used as storage and they visit it for 2 hours a day and use the printer, is that an office? Like minimal usage, an office is an
I think
office.
the storage use is totally allowed. If you're going to get files and put files in there, that's just storing files. If you're using it as an office, then it's an office use, so. That's how we would look at
For
it.
the record, code doesn't have any issue with the fact that it has all the makings of an apartment, because an office could be utilized pretty well with the bathroom and a stove and a refrigerator, no issues there. I think we just brought that up just out of curiosity, because
Yeah.
it looks like an apartment, but you
No.
could have all of those amenities within an office with no problem, we see them all over the city, so that's,
Right.
don't worry about that.
It's not storage if it's built like this, but it
Right.
could be, but if you get the zoning, whatever, and just to opine on life safety, if this is going to be an office that's not associated with that building, this building needs its own street address. And don't forget, you'll need a 2-hour fire separation if you're not gonna sprinkle it, which I'm sure you wouldn't, between the two, between the garage and the office, if you were to go that route.
You have vehicle storage
So,
underneath
yeah.
this office, so we need
Absolutely.
to have that.
Well, and as you know, we were very careful about the life safety in the building. So if that's what's required, then that's what we'll do.
Stairwell would have to go straight down through and be totally separated from the garage and pour it outside. You could have a,
Yeah, I think we were looking to have the stairs go along the back. You can see it in the plan.
But they have to go outside, is what they're saying.
Oh, well, we were
They can't go
looking,
into the garage.
we can't have stairs inside the building?
You can have a door into the garage, but you'd have to have a door directly outside as well, and they would both have to be 90 minutes.
just a fire doors, so
Oh,
that
okay.
your garage bay.
It has to go outside as well. It has to be, the stairs have to be completely separate from the garage, but you can have a door in it going into the garage and a door in it going outside.
Look at the bottom landing. You have
Okay.
A door going out and a door going into the garage.
Yes,
think
and
we're all
that
on
is
the
how,
same- we're all on
and
the
that is
same
how
page.
we have it set up, yes.
So what size is this structure?
I believe
24 by
it's
24.
24.
It's 24 by 24.
Yeah, it's right here.
And I see you're proposing connecting in drainage to our system as well.
Yes, that was the thought. I think through this process, there was an email or some conversations with Carl from DPW
Yeah, I spoke to him directly.
who said, you know, you may want to tie in, because I think there's a new lateral or newish lateral.
Yeah, I get that. I don't think I'd put that drainage structure that close to that tree. You're gonna kill the tree trying to put the drainage structure in.
Yeah, we can move that.
Would we want a manhole there?
It's a service.
So however we can get rainwater off the buildings and into the storm system, that works.
Yeah, I just,
because-
I wouldn't put that structure any closer than the back of Spot 8.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm exceptionally concerned about the tree. The tree is over 225 years old. And it's been listed in the Big Tree Project at UNH. So it's the third oldest, they believe, in Rockingham County and in the top 10 for the state.
It's pretty good for a silver maple. They usually don't do that.
Yeah, and I've had the tree worked on. I've had Northeast Shade has climbed up. We've cabled it. We've done everything we can to support it. So that obviously is a major concern for us. So we just need to clarify that the zoning board is aware of the office.
Well, and I think what the planners are saying is, if you want this as an office, we have to go back to ZBA, because Colby went through ZBA, and I don't think he requested a variance for the office. We'll look that up.
Okay, we'll double check with Colby.
I think it was actually in his write-up.
It
of What
was.
the use was, but he didn't specifically.
The second to the last page has your variance request criteria.
Mm-hmm.
And one was, number 2 was for to allow an accessory building, but it doesn't really specify what's in that building during this request.
It says parking and additional storage.
Yeah, that was just for setback, really, so. But, Peter, I think what
If that's
you're,
how you represented it to them and you bring it back to them, then probably ask that of them. I mean, definitely can ask
Yeah,
that.
like I said, I mean, we definitely talked about it, cause I spoke at that meeting and I absolutely spoke about it.
Yeah, so I would, you know, you need to get that official, then you can have a formal office
Okay,
all above board.
yeah, because we talked about the square footage, we talked about the fact that we were, you know, not going to have it as living space. You know, and my husband and I are usually the type of owners, we buy and we hold on to properties. We put a lot of money into this building, not because we're looking to get rid of it, you know, and we co-own it with our son. So
Doesn't hurt that the neighbors are on board.
we talked to everybody. We absolutely did, so everybody was aware. And it was actually rightfully a concern of the Epsteins, because they're right in the backyard. Because, you know, they didn't want to have like, you know, noisy neighbors or anything like that.
Yep.
But we also are very, very particular about who comes into one of our buildings. So as our immediate neighbors and all of our properties have found, they're very happy to have us as neighbors because we take care of the buildings and we bring in very good quality tenants.
One more thing, you're counting the 2 spaces inside the garage as parking spaces.
Mhm.
They need to meet the minimum size for parking spaces. So because that stairwell is going up that back wall, there may not be enough room for parking in the garage the way that it's.
I
It's
think,
a 24 by 24 building.
yeah, we looked at that with Braden.
we can show that layout. make
Yeah.
sure.
Show that floor plan.
Yep, we definitely took that into consideration.
Right, anything else?
We're good.
Thanks.
All right, good luck.
Right,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, that's it for today. Thank you all.